Hello, everyone. Let me start with a simple truth. Your future is not determined by luck, it's determined by your habits. Every single thing you do today, what you eat, how you sleep, how you think, is programming your body and brain for the future you're going to live in. Let's talk about that. Your body is not a fixed machine, it's a dynamic biological system that responds to every signal you give it. Every single habit you build, every food you eat, every hour of sleep you skip, and every stressful thought you entertain is sending instructions to your body at the cellular level. This is what it means when we say your habits reprogram your biology. It's not just motivational talk, it's literal physiology. The body is always adapting, adjusting, and reshaping itself around what you repeatedly do. The foods you eat determine the hormones you release. The way you move influences your muscle tone and metabolism. The thoughts you focus on affect the chemistry of your brain. You are constantly writing the code of your future health through your present behavior. If you wake up each morning and immediately reach for sugar or caffeine, you're teaching your body to depend on external stimulation rather than natural energy production. The more you do it, the less efficient your cells become at creating energy from fat. Your mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells, become sluggish because you've trained them to expect an instant fuel source. Over time, that creates fatigue, cravings, and weight gain. The same is true with stress. If your daily pattern includes rushing, overthinking, and skipping rest, your body learns to live in fight or flight mode. Cortisol rises, sleep quality drops, and inflammation increases. You might think you're just busy, but biologically, you're conditioning your body for burnout. What you repeat becomes your default setting. Now let's flip that around. When you start building positive habits, your body begins to reprogram in the opposite direction. A morning walk stabilizes blood sugar, calms your nervous system, and activates brain regions responsible for focus and mood regulation. Choosing nutrient-dense foods over processed ones teaches your insulin levels to stay balanced, your liver to detox efficiently, and your metabolism to run smoothly. Even something as simple as getting 7 to 8 hours of deep sleep resets hormones like leptin and ghrelin, which control hunger and energy. These are not abstract benefits. They are measurable physiological shifts created by simple, consistent habits. Each one sends your body the message: we are healing, we are stabilizing, we are optimizing. Most people think genetics determine their health destiny, but that's only part of the story. The science of epigenetics shows that your habits can switch certain genes on or off. If you consistently eat well, manage stress, and move your body, you can silence genes that trigger inflammation and chronic disease while activating genes that promote repair and longevity. This is why habits are far more powerful than occasional effort. Your body isn't reacting to your goals, it's reacting to your patterns. You can't just wish for better health while living in contradiction to it. Your biology doesn't listen to what you want, it listens to what you do daily. Think of your habits as signals to your body about what kind of future to prepare for. If your routine says, we're sedentary, stressed, and undernourished, your body prepares for survival by storing fat, slowing metabolism, and conserving energy. If your routine says, we're active, calm, and well fed, your body prepares for vitality by building muscle, burning fat, and optimizing hormone balance. The difference between those two futures is not random. It's habit-driven. Every action you take is either moving you toward health or away from it. There is no neutral behavior. Everything counts at the cellular level. Reprogramming your biology doesn't require perfection. It requires repetition. The more often you send your body positive signals, the more those pathways strengthen. The brain's neural circuits adapt, your hormone levels adjust, and your metabolism begins to mirror your lifestyle. Over time, what once felt like effort becomes automatic. Your biology has learned a new normal. That's the real power of habit. It transforms not just what you do, but who you are on a cellular level. Most people believe transformation requires dramatic effort, but the truth is that consistent small changes are what create lasting results. The body and mind respond to repetition far more than intensity. When you try to overhaul your entire lifestyle overnight, your system resists because it's wired for familiarity. But when you make small, sustainable shifts, your biology adapts quietly, gradually building a new baseline. This is how real progress happens, not through extreme bursts of motivation, but through patient, consistent action. Think of your life as a long timeline where every decision adds a small deposit or withdrawal from your future health account. The power lies not in one big deposit, but in the accumulation of tiny ones over time. Your metabolism doesn't change because of one perfect day of eating or one intense workout. It changes because of what you do over weeks and months. For example, if you replace just one sugary snack a day with a handful of nuts or a piece of fruit, that single choice lowers your daily insulin spikes, reduces cravings, and improves your energy. Over time, that small change compounds, leading to better blood sugar control and fat metabolism. The same principle applies to sleep. Going to bed 30 minutes earlier each night might not feel like much, but after a month, that's an extra 15 hours of recovery. Your brain clears toxins, your hormones reset, and your body repairs itself more efficiently. Small, consistent actions become invisible investments that yield massive dividends later. The brain loves habits because they conserve energy. When a behavior becomes automatic, your brain no longer has to think about it. It simply runs the program. That's why small habits work so powerfully. They bypass resistance. When something feels easy, you're more likely to repeat it. And every repetition strengthens the neural pathway associated with that behavior. Eventually, your mind and body operate on autopilot in the direction of health rather than destruction. You don't need to force motivation because your biology starts to crave what feels familiar, and what feels familiar becomes what's healthy. This is how small changes evolve into identity level transformation. Consistency also builds confidence. When you make promises to yourself and keep them, even in small ways, you strengthen your belief that you are capable of change. Each small win tells your subconscious mind, I follow through. Over time, that identity shift is far more powerful than any external goal. You stop chasing quick fixes and start building systems that work long term. The key is to think long term and stop judging progress by what happens in a week. The body operates on biology, not urgency. It takes time for hormones to balance, cells to repair, and energy systems to reset. Every small improvement is a signal that you're heading in the right direction, even if it doesn't show up immediately. Another hidden benefit of small changes is sustainability. When people make extreme changes like cutting all carbs overnight or exercising for 2 hours a day, the body perceives it as stress. Cortisol rises, energy drops, and motivation burns out. But gradual improvements feel safe to the body. When your physiology doesn't feel threatened, it adapts smoothly. The stress response stays low, your recovery improves, and your results last longer. That's why slow progress often leads to faster results in the long run. The body prefers stability over chaos. It rewards consistency with resilience. You don't need to see progress every day. You just need to trust that each small step counts. Think about compound interest. A tiny increase consistently applied leads to exponential growth. The same applies to health, mindset, and success. Small daily actions, hydration, good posture, mindful eating, regular sleep may seem ordinary, but they quietly rewrite your biology. Momentum builds invisibly, and one day the change becomes visible. That's the moment when people call it sudden transformation. But it was really the product of daily micro decisions that accumulated over time. Consistency may look boring, but it's the most powerful force for long-term change because it teaches your body, mind, and habits to work together in harmony. The environment you live in shapes your habits more than motivation or willpower ever can. Most people think discipline is the key to building good habits, but discipline fades when your surroundings constantly tempt or distract you. The truth is that your external world silently programs your internal behavior. The foods you keep in your kitchen, the people you spend time with, the apps on your phone, the lighting in your room, and even the sounds you hear daily, all of these create cues that trigger automatic actions. When you design your environment with intention, you make healthy habits effortless and unhealthy ones inconvenient. Your surroundings are not neutral, they are either supporting your goals or sabotaging them. If you want to eat better, the solution isn't more willpower, it's changing what's within arm's reach. When junk food is visible, your brain registers it as an easy reward. That sight alone activates dopamine and begins the craving loop. But if your kitchen counter displays fruits, filtered water, or herbal tea, your choices shift naturally. You haven't forced yourself to be healthy, you've made it easy to be healthy. The same logic applies to sleep. If your phone is beside your bed, your brain associates bedtime with stimulation and blue light exposure. Move the phone to another room, keep the lights dim, and your body automatically prepares for rest. You didn't use more effort, you removed the triggers that drained your discipline. Your social environment also has enormous influence. People mirror the behaviors of those around them. If your circle values health, productivity, and growth, you naturally absorb those values. But if your environment normalizes stress, negativity, or poor lifestyle habits, your brain's mirror neurons begin to copy those patterns too. That's why changing your environment often leads to faster results than changing your mindset alone. The mind adapts to the dominant energy of its surroundings. Protecting your environment is not about isolation. It's about creating alignment between your goals and your atmosphere. Distractions are another form of environmental sabotage. Every ping, notification, or background noise pulls your focus away from intentional living. Over time, this fragments your attention and drains mental energy that could be used to build better habits. Controlling your environment means controlling your inputs. Turn off non-essential notifications, set boundaries for technology use, and choose silence or calm music over constant noise. When your external space becomes peaceful, your internal state follows. Calm surroundings create calm biology, lower cortisol, steadier heart rate, and sharper mental clarity. Your physical environment also affects your energy levels. Natural light regulates your circadian rhythm. Clutter increases stress hormones and decision fatigue. Temperature influences your metabolism and alertness. Every detail matters because your senses feed constant feedback to your nervous system. A clean, organized, and purpose-driven space reduces friction between intention and action. When you walk into a room designed for focus, you focus. When you step into a kitchen arranged for nourishment, you make better food choices. The environment becomes an invisible coach, gently steering your behavior in the right direction without argument or resistance. People often try to fight bad habits with willpower, but willpower is like a battery. It drains quickly. Environment is more like wiring. It determines how energy flows. The better the wiring, the less resistance there's to positive behavior. So instead of asking, how can I force myself to change? Ask, how can I make the right choice, the easy choice? That's the shift from trying harder to designing smarter. By rearranging your surroundings, You create automatic momentum. You no longer depend on fleeting motivation because your environment does half the work for you. Success becomes the path of least resistance, and failure becomes inconvenient. That's how true habit mastery begins, by shaping your world to reflect the person you want to become. Your body and mind are not separate systems. They are two sides of the same coin, constantly communicating through chemistry, hormones, and electrical signals. When your body is in balance, your mind becomes sharp, calm, and focused. When your body is out of sync, dehydrated, inflamed, or sleep deprived, your thinking becomes cloudy, emotional control weakens, and motivation fades. Many people try to fix their problems through mindset alone, using willpower or positive thinking. But if your physiology is unstable, your brain can't function at its best. You can't think clearly when your blood sugar is crashing or your stress hormones are surging. The foundation of mental strength is physical stability. Every thought you have is powered by biochemistry. Your brain depends on a steady flow of glucose, oxygen, and nutrients to produce neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. When you skip meals or eat highly processed foods, your blood sugar spikes and crashes. During those crashes, your brain is literally starved for fuel, which leads to irritability, fatigue, and impulsive decisions. You might interpret that as a lack of discipline, but it's really a chemical imbalance. When you eat whole, nutrient-dense foods that stabilize your insulin levels, you're feeding both your body and your mental clarity. That's why people who eat clean, balanced meals often report better focus, emotional stability, and creativity. The body feeds the mind. Sleep plays a massive role in this relationship too. When you don't get enough deep sleep, your brain's glymphatic system, the mechanism that clears out toxins, can't function properly. That buildup of waste dulls cognition and impairs memory. Lack of sleep also raises cortisol, the stress hormone, while lowering leptin and ghrelin, which control hunger. This creates a domino effect. Poor sleep leads to stress. Stress leads to cravings, and cravings lead to poor nutrition. It's not laziness, it's biology. The mind starts to spiral because the body isn't supporting it. When you correct the foundation, better sleep, balanced meals, hydration, the mental fog lifts naturally without the need for endless motivation hacks. Movement is another key factor. Exercise isn't just about burning calories, it's about moving energy through the body and feeding the brain with oxygen. When you move, your blood flow increases, delivering nutrients and removing waste from your cells. Physical activity also triggers the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein that helps your brain grow new connections and stay resilient against stress. That's why even a short walk can change your mood and clarity in minutes. You're not just working out your muscles, you're training your brain to perform under pressure and recover faster from stress. Stress itself is one of the biggest disruptors of mental clarity and physical health. When you're under constant stress, cortisol stays elevated. High cortisol breaks down muscle, suppresses immunity, and increases fat storage, especially around the abdomen. But it also affects the brain, shrinking areas like the hippocampus, which controls memory and learning. Chronic stress keeps your body in fight or flight mode, which means your mind can't focus on long-term goals. It's too busy trying to survive the moment. Breathing techniques, meditation, and proper rest are not luxuries. They are physiological resets that tell your body, we are safe. Once the body calms down, the mind opens up to creativity, focus, and motivation again. When your body is healthy, your brain chemistry supports productivity, discipline, and optimism. You no longer have to force motivation because it becomes a natural state of being. This is why focusing on your body is one of the smartest strategies for improving mental performance. Instead of fighting against your biology, you align with it. The foods you eat, the way you move, the hours you sleep, all these daily habits form the foundation on which your thoughts, decisions, and future are built. A strong mind begins with a balanced body, and that harmony is what allows consistent, clear, and purposeful living. Time is the invisible ingredient that multiplies the power of your habits. Every action you take may seem small in the moment, but over time it compounds into massive change. Most people underestimate the long-term impact of consistency and overestimate the short-term results they expect to see. The truth is that your habits are like seeds. You don't see the fruit immediately, but with patience, the roots grow deep. The challenge is that the early stages of progress are often invisible. You can be doing everything right, eating well, sleeping better, exercising consistently, and still feel like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, your body is reprogramming, your metabolism is adjusting, and your brain is building stronger neural pathways. The compound effect takes time, but it never fails to reward those who stay consistent. Think of your health and mindset as a savings account. Each good habit is a small deposit. One workout doesn't make you fit, just as one skipped meal doesn't make you unhealthy. But do either one repeatedly, and the results are inevitable. The same principle applies to sleep, nutrition, and stress management. Your future self is built by these deposits, not by occasional bursts of motivation. What's powerful about compounding is that the results start slow, then accelerate. The first few months may bring subtle improvements in energy or focus. Then suddenly things click, your cravings fade, your thoughts feel sharper, your body moves with ease. That moment feels sudden, but it's really the accumulation of hundreds of small, consistent actions working silently in your favor. This principle applies equally to negative habits. When you neglect your health, skip sleep, or live under constant stress, the damage also compounds. You might not notice it right away, but small daily neglects accumulate into fatigue, poor digestion, weight gain, and chronic illness. Time magnifies whatever you feed it. It doesn't discriminate between good and bad habits. It simply multiplies whatever you practice. This is why awareness and consistency matter more than intensity. A small improvement practiced daily will always outperform an extreme change you can't sustain. Time is your ally when you use it wisely and your greatest enemy when you ignore it. Patience is one of the hardest but most necessary elements of progress. The human body follows biological rhythms, not emotional timelines. Hormones need time to rebalance. Tissues need time to repair. Neural pathways need repetition to strengthen. Expecting instant results creates frustration, which often leads to quitting right before real change begins. The key is to detach from speed and focus on direction. If you're moving consistently toward health, time will do the rest. Just as compounding interest makes small financial investments grow exponentially, compounding habits make your health, energy, and mindset expand exponentially. The earlier you start, the more powerful the effect becomes because each improvement builds on the last. Consistency also builds momentum. Every positive choice today makes the next one easier tomorrow. You develop rhythm, confidence, and identity around your new habits. Over time, your body begins to expect healthy behavior. It craves it. The system starts working for you instead of against you. That's when real transformation feels effortless, but it's only possible because of time. Without time, habits remain isolated actions. With time, they become who you are. The body adapts slowly, but it always adapts. You just have to give it consistent input and enough patience for the process to unfold. Time also teaches humility. You begin to realize that growth is not about intensity, but about alignment. You don't need to chase overnight results or compare your progress to others. Your only job is to show up, keep the promises you make to yourself, and let time compound your efforts. Every meal, every workout, uh, every night of good sleep is a small investment that your future self will thank you for. The future is not built in one day, it's built in 1,000 ordinary days that no one sees but you. And when time has done its quiet work, what once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. Every habit you build today is shaping the person you will become tomorrow. The future version of you is not created by dreams or goals alone, but by what you repeat each day without even thinking about it. Your actions are votes for the type of person you are becoming. Each time you choose health over comfort, focus over distraction, and discipline over impulse, you cast a vote for your stronger, wiser future self. The problem is that many people live disconnected from that future. They think of it as something far away, a version of themselves that will somehow appear when circumstances are better. But the truth is that the future self is being built right now in the background through every choice you make and every pattern you reinforce. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from now. Would that version of you be grateful for how you're living today or disappointed that you kept postponing change? That question should guide your daily behavior more than any short-term motivation. The habits you build today will determine whether your future is one of vitality or regret. Every skipped workout, every processed meal, every night of lost sleep, every negative thought adds up silently. The cost isn't paid immediately, it's paid later when the effects compound. Conversely, every walk, every glass of water, every moment of gratitude, every hour of rest is an investment that grows over time. The difference between the two futures is the sum of small, invisible decisions made each day. Your brain is constantly learning who you are based on your actions. If you tell yourself you want to be healthy, but continually act in contradiction to that desire, your brain stops believing you. It begins to see you as someone who makes promises but doesn't keep them. This creates internal conflict and weakens your identity. But when your actions match your intentions, even in small ways, your mind starts to align with your goals. You no longer need to force discipline because you start to see yourself as the type of person who follows through. Your identity evolves from I want to be healthy to I am someone who makes healthy choices. That shift changes everything because identity-based habits are far more sustainable than goal-based ones. The future self is not an abstract concept. It's a direct reflection of repeated choices. When you eat nourishing food today, you're not just satisfying hunger, you're protecting your brain, heart, and energy for the years ahead. When you prioritize learning and growth, you're building the mental tools your future self will rely on to handle challenges. When you practice patience, kindness, and focus, you're shaping the emotional resilience of the person you're becoming. You're training your biology, your mindset, and your spirit to operate at a higher level of function. Nothing about your future is random. It's all rehearsed through today's behavior. One of the most powerful mindset shifts is realizing that your future self is watching. Picture that version of you observing your current choices, silently hoping you'll stay consistent. When you make decisions from that perspective, you naturally choose better because you're acting out of respect for the person you're becoming. It's not about guilt or perfection. It's about alignment. The gap between who you are and who you want to be closes every time your actions match your vision. Every day offers a chance to rewrite your trajectory. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond, what you prioritize, and what habits you reinforce. The future doesn't appear overnight. It's sculpted by thousands of small repetitions that create identity, resilience, and health. Every thought, meal, and routine investing in or withdrawing from your potential. You are the architect of your own evolution and the future self you meet will be the exact sum of the choices you make today